Hey, welcome to another Retro Rocha with me, comedian Jerry Rocha. For 22 years, I searched for Bigfoot in a desert on a hunch, but I gave all that up and a family just to come here and host this show. And today, I'm talking the NES game Kid Icarus. Which, first off, the greatest name for a rapper that was never used. You know what? I'm gonna start going to auctions and just call myself Bid Icarus to show respect for this game that I love so much. When I got the game, I was excited that it came in a silver box instead of the traditional black ones. I also didn't know what the words password pack meant, but I was still excited. It was like when you bought a Walkman that said extra bass on it. You at least knew there was no bullshit. And let's thank every god for that password pack. It meant you could continue your progress even if you stopped playing the game. Back then, that was mind-blowing. Usually you had to finish games in one sitting. Imagine getting halfway through a book, you get a little tired, you put it down, and when you open up to read it again, it makes you start at page 1. If that were the case, I'd still be like on what, the 4th Hardy Boys book? I know I got a court date tomorrow, but I gotta see how the boys are gonna get out of this bind. You play the game as Pit, an angel trapped in the underworld by Medusa, the goddess of darkness, and then freed by Palutena, the goddess of light, using the last gasp of magic that Palutena had right after Medusa imprisoned her. Your purpose is to defeat Medusa and free Palutena. You do that by collecting 3 artifacts that are being guarded by the 3 bosses of the game. I think it was really smart of them that they didn't actually have you play as Icarus, because that would have been a real downer of an ending. No matter what items you collect, you just burst in flames and die at the end? That's the game? And Kid Sisyphus would have been a real snoozer, too. I mean, you just spend the entire game pushing a rock up a hill, then it just rolls back down for an eternity. I mean, probably still better than the NES X-Men game, but, you know, still. I was stunned when I looked back at this game and saw that not everybody loved it. It got some shit reviews, for sure. That blew my mind. Just like when I found out that Sporty wasn't everyone's favorite Spice Girl. Negative, the music alone is worth the price of admission. Listen to that! And then when the drums kick in, I loved how the enemies looked too, from those dumb little snakes to those flying eyeball things that were kind of like that phase in the 1980s when you would wear gym shorts over sweatpants. Kind of cool, but also kind of dumb. Not even a little cool. You know what? Fuck this. I'm bringing that look back with a denim vest. You'll see. I even like those ball-busting Grim Reaper hall monitor snitches who would freak out every time they saw you and then call their little buddies to help. That's even not a half-bad song that plays when they come. I bet you could end so many arguments by just singing that song. You're not listening to You even fight Metroids. There's Metroids that somehow wound up in this game. Kid Icarus made enemies that were nothing but googly eyes and giant hairy noses intimidating. But they're all worth the difficulty. The more enemies you kill, the more of a good impression you make on the gods. Certain stages have a room near the end that you can walk into, and if you've defeated enough enemies, then one of the gods, who looks like an 8th grade math teacher, will be impressed by what you've done, and then will upgrade your power. If you tried to dodge your way through the level and you find one of those rooms, then the gods are unimpressed, and it's just empty. Hey, Medusa is a threat to us all, okay? And yes, we can help this guy, but he couldn't kill one floating eyeball. Also, the more enemies you kill, the more points you accumulate, and if you do enough of that, you actually get your health increased. It wasn't until 3 nights ago that I realized, holy shit, Pit levels up, huh? It was also 3 nights ago when I realized, holy shit, so that means Darth Vader is Princess Leia's father too. 3 nights ago was a big night for me. Some of the levels even have some trial rooms, and if you survive, the gods will reward you and give you these legendary weapons that will make your life in the rest of the game so much easier. Always get the rod first. It gives you these semi-permanent orbs that float around you, that protect you, and can also do damage to any enemies you hit with them. I say semi-permanent because even if you've gotten all 3 legendary items, the minute you get to the final temple of each level, all those items are stripped from you. Those temples redefine testing patience. You go from room to room trying to find the boss, which is cool. Also, you see what you think are statues, but if you've collected a few mallets in the game and you use them on those statues, you can actually break them open, and they're Centurion warriors of Palatinas that Medusa turned to stone. However many of them you set free will join to help you during the final boss fight of that temple. In the second temple, I was so excited. I freed 9 of them, and I was like, oh my god, I've got my own Centurion Wu-Tang clan. We're gonna mess some shit up. And then they only take 1 hit to die, and they don't really do much damage to the bosses at all. So, yeah, okay, they're pointless. Just keep the mallets. But what about that testing patience you spoke of? Well, some of the enemies in the temple hit a little harder and do a little bit more damage. And holy shit, what the fuck just happened? What are those things? The eggplant wizards. They might be my most hated enemy in any game of the NES era. They throw cursed eggplants at you. These wizards could have taken the time to learn how to do anything, but instead they just cursed eggplants. And if one of those eggplants even grazes you, you turn into an eggplant. None of your weapons work. You look like you're walking around in the world's shittiest Halloween costume. And then you have to go find a hospital in these maze of rooms that are usually way out of the way of where you need to be. And once you find the hospital, you're freed of the eggplant curse. But not permanently. If another one happens to hit you at any point in that temple, you gotta go right back and do it all over again. This was like the video game equivalent of being on hold with customer service for like 45 minutes, and right before you're about to speak to a person, they just hang up on you. Shit. Maybe this is Kid Sisyphus. Those eggplant wizards gave me PTSD for any new enemy I would face in the game. Oh shit. Oh god, what is this thing gonna do? Oh, whew. Just kicks me in the nuts and then pukes on me. As long as there's no eggplant curse. And my number 2 most annoying enemy of any game in the NES era might be in this game too. They are these shop class teachers in a toga looking pieces of shit called the Plutons. And if they barely graze you, then they instantly steal one of the legendary weapons that you've earned in the game. And the only way to get it back is to hopefully find a shop later on in the level that might have that weapon that the shopkeeper will sell you for all the money you have. Thankfully, the final level really wasn't that much of a challenge. It was more of a thank you for playing screen disguised as a final level. Pit now gets to equip all those 3 items you got from the bosses earlier in the game. He's pretty overpowered and he just flies around the stage, taking out a couple of numbnuts, and then you get to Medusa, who's a pretty easy battle. I mean, it was nice. You went through a lot of bullshit in the game just to get up to this point, so it rewarded you. Something the second Matrix movie maybe could have done. The game has multiple endings too. There are several conditions you have to meet to get the best ending. That's the one where Pit grows big and then does some boot knocking with Palatina. Yeah, that's right. Get you some, buddy. I like to watch. But there are like 6 other endings too. You go from the very best one to the very worst one where Palatina barely thanks you and just hands Pit a rake and says, all right, man, go be a farmer now. After all this shit I went through for you, and you give me a rake? I was an eggplant for 3 fucking hours! I think there's an even worse ending in the game where Pit has to go to his now very successful ex-girlfriend, ask her for money to help with bills, and then just blows all the money on drugs. This game was so much fun, and it's still so much fun. And if all you know of Pit and Palatina are from Smash Brothers, hey, that's great, but they star in a very badass game that is well worth your time. And to those who complained about the game, hey, at least it wasn't Kid Icarus. He's gonna kill his dad, okay? Then he's gonna bang his mother, all right? Then he's gonna gouge his eyes out. Come on, we're gonna own Christmas. Thank you for watching another Retro Rocha with me, comedian Jerry Rocha. Please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, click that little bell so you're notified every time a video comes out, spread the word, all that good shit. Is there a game you want me to talk about? Email me, rocha@retrorocha.com. And remember, if things are tough, fight through it to the next level. Oh, and you can keep your cartridges for ammunition. Mine are gonna store old games. Ooh! Son, I gotta go host a show on retro gaming. Now remember, Sasquatch likes bacon, and you mind your mammy!